If your phone rings at 2:17 a.m., let it go to voicemail. That's the rule I made for myself after that night, because there's a version of me that existed before the call, and then there's the person talking to you now. We're not the same. I used to think my life was ordinary. I had a one-bedroom apartment with a flickering hallway light. I kept promising my landlord I'd replace myself. I made coffee badly and eggs well. I worked a job that required passwords I forgot the second I made them. I jogged the same loop at the park 3 times a week and convinced myself routine is proof that the world is not trying to swallow you whole. Then the phone rang. It was the old ringtone, the default one I never bothered to change, flat, harmless, like the sound a hotel room makes when it wants you to wake up without caring who you'll be when you do. I sat up, heart beating hard because the hour itself is a siren. Everyone knows good news sleeps. Bad news doesn't. Unknown number. Area code I didn't recognize. A small decision that felt like a door, answer or don't. I answered. Don't say your name, the voice said. Just listen. It wasn't robotic, or distorted, or theatrical. It was, careful. Older than me, maybe by 15 years. The kind of voice you trust before you want to. I opened my mouth to say who is this? But something about the way the words were placed, precise, like stones across a river, made me wait. I know you keep your spare keys in the terracotta pot, the voice said. I know you run clockwise at Maple Park to avoid the cracked loop by the duck pond. You think your left ankle never healed right. You hate the taste of mint gum but you buy it anyway because it feels like other people do. You're going to want to hang up. Please don't. I stood up without knowing why and stepped to the window. Outside, the street was a postcard of absence, orange streetlight, a car with frost across the windshield like sugar, nothing moving. My breath fogged the glass. Who are you? I asked, but quietly, like if I kept my voice low the rules of the night couldn't hear me breaking them. The voice ignored the question and continued, softer. When you were 9, you got a scar on your right forearm. You tell people it was a bike accident, but you know that isn't true. You don't remember how you got it because your mother told you not to. My eyes dropped to the scar. I never think about it, it's just there, a pale comma. The memory I carry is handlebars, gravel, pride in front of older kids. I've told that story so often it feels like film burned into my brain. Still, the skin prickled under the words like they were fingers. Who is this? I said again, louder. A pause, like the voice had stepped off a curb and was deciding whether to run. Then, I'm calling because you're going to get a different call at 7:30 tomorrow morning from a number you do recognize, and it will be a lie. Don't answer that one. Go to the bus station instead. Locker 317. Combination 041709. Take what's inside and leave by the side exit into the taxi lane. If anyone asks, you're meeting a friend for breakfast. My mouth went dry. Why would I do any of that? Because the person who raises you isn't the person who raised you, the voice said. Because the fire wasn't a fire. Because your name isn't the one you were given. The room seemed to tilt slightly. I gripped the windowsill hard enough to feel paint grit under my nails. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to say you have the wrong person. I wanted to hang up and wake up and make coffee that tasted like burnt hope again. Instead, I said, who are you to me? Another small, terrible pause. Then the voice said my childhood nickname, 2 syllables only my mother and one other person used, soft enough that it didn't survive past middle school. Hearing it felt like someone had dropped a key into my chest from a very great height. I can't be on long, the voice said. Phones get lonely. They tell on you. Go to the locker. Please. If you do nothing else for me, do that. For you, I repeated. So you do know me. I know you better than you let yourself, the voice said. I'll call again when you're safe. The line clicked. The clock on my stove read 2:21. The refrigerator hummed a note I had never heard it hum before and would never hear again. I stood there until the cold got bored of my ankles and crept up my calves. Sleep didn't return, but morning did, rudely. At 7:26, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Call me when you wake up, sweetheart. At 7:30, she called. I didn't answer. I stared at her name, MOM, on my screen until the call timed out and my reflection turned back into a person who doesn't know anything. I texted her at work, busy, call later, and watched the 3 dots appear and vanish twice. Love you, she sent. Be safe. As if she could smell the difference in the day and was trying to wrap it in the only blanket she had. I told my boss I had a dentist appointment and walked to the bus station with my hands in my pockets and my eyes moving like I was reading the world. I had never used a locker there. It felt like a thing people who make trouble do in movies, not people who keep their heads down and pay for extended warranties. Locker 317 squeaked when I turned the latch. Inside was a manila envelope and a flip phone wrapped in a napkin from a diner that doesn't exist anymore. On the envelope, in block letters, open somewhere you're not. I went to the bathroom stall farthest from the door because I've seen enough of the world to know that's where you go when you don't know where to go. I locked the stall and sat and opened the envelope with my heart stuttering like it was choosing between fight and park. Inside, a birth certificate with a name I didn't recognize and a date of birth 2 weeks after mine. A photo of my mother in a city I couldn't place with a different last name than the one she gave me. A key with a tag that said 352, storage. A note. If you're reading this, it means the story didn't stay simple. I tried to keep it simple. I was never good at simple. The fire wasn't an accident. It was a cover. You don't remember because someone decided it would be kinder for you not to. I was part of that decision. I don't know if it was the right one. Your real name is inside the blue notebook. Don't say it out loud. Don't write it where you sleep. If anyone calls you from a number that looks familiar today, do not answer. Meet me at 3:15 p.m. at the bench behind the old clock at Union Square. Sit on the left side. Drop your bag to the right. If I'm not there by 3:30, go to the storage unit and follow the instructions inside. I'm sorry. R. Only one person ever signed a note to me with a single letter. Not my mother. Not a relative. A man my mother called an old friend, who used to show up once a year when I was little bearing strange presents, shortwave radios, a compass, a map with routes traced in pencil-like veins. He taught me how to tell direction by the way a spider builds its web, which I thought was the most important thing anyone had ever shared with me, and then he didn't come anymore. I unfolded the last item, a blue notebook bound with a rubber band. A single line on the first page, written in a careful hand I remembered, names are doors. Knock before you enter. The flip phone vibrated in the napkin. One new message, left side. Bag right. No hat. I had been seen. Either watched or predicted. I looked up and realized the stall next to mine was empty and had been the whole time. It felt like a magic trick that only worked on people who think they're not interesting. At 3:12, I sat on the left side of the bench behind the clock and set my bag to the right. I had never noticed that bench before. I'd walked by it 1,000 times, it had never been mine until now. People moved around me like weather pretending to be appointments. I waited. 3 pigeons negotiated an invisible border with the seriousness of diplomats. A man in a suit tied his shoe for so long he must have forgotten how to stand. At 3:16, someone sat down. Not close. Not far. A woman, older than me by 25 years, a jacket that had lived in a closet long enough to learn the language of dust. She didn't look at me. She looked at the clock and then at nothing, the way you do when you're trying to make your face a door without a handle. Left side, she said, almost smiling. Bag right. No hat. I should have said no red scarf. I wasn't wearing a red scarf. For a second that felt like falling. I wondered if I had misunderstood everything down to the colors. Then a man in a blue cap paused by the bench and shifted like he wanted to sit, saw both of us, and moved on. In his reflection in the clock's brass, I saw the glint of a camera lens peeking through a jacket buttonhole. The woman saw it too without looking. "Are sent you?" I asked, my mouth dry as old paper. "Are sent everyone," she said softly. "That's his problem." "Who are you?" "A friend who owed him," she said. "From the part of his life he didn't want to bring you into. He asked me to be here in case he couldn't." She inhaled as if the air might answer something for her. "He can't." "Is he alive?" she finished for me. "Yes." "Unavailable?" "Also yes." "He called you because time got shorter than what he promised your mother." She turned her head an inch. "You don't know any of this, do you?" "I know I'm tired of not knowing," I said, and heard the small, brittle edge in my own voice. "I know there's a storage unit and a name that isn't mine and a fire that was theater." She nodded, grief flitting across her face so quickly it looked like a bird deciding on a branch. "He said you were always brave in the wrong places," she murmured, like she was reading a line she'd rehearsed. "Listen. I worked for people who wanted the world to be tidy. Your mother didn't." She was going to testify about a thing that made tidy impossible. The night of the fire was a move, his word, not mine. It was meant to erase you long enough for everything else to calm down. My mother knew? My voice went small, like a child's balloon you regret letting go of as soon as you do. "She agreed," the woman said carefully. "Parents make bargains with fate. Some of those bargains come with scars no one gets to read." I stared at the clock until the numbers blurred. "So what am I supposed to believe?" "That there's more than one true thing," she said. "Your mother kept you alive. Or kept you gone. Both are love, ugly as that is." "What do they want now?" I asked. "Whoever they are. The same thing people always want," she said. "Control, a clear narrative, no loose ends. You are a very tidy loose end. You're also smarter than the form you filled out at work would suggest, which is why I'm going to tell you the thing R told me to say if you looked like you were going to run." I waited. She waited longer, to teach me patience I hadn't asked for. Don't be heroic, she said. Be precise. She handed me a small key I hadn't noticed in her palm. Storage unit 352. There's a box in there with a silver stripe. Don't open anything with a red stripe. Red is history. Silver is forward. The notebook will make sense once you see what's in silver. R is going to try to call you again, but he'll miss. He always misses. If he doesn't get to you in 2 days, change your phone. Throw it in the river if you have to. How will he find me if I? He's not looking for your number, she said, almost smiling. He's listening for your pattern. Before I could ask what that meant, she stood and left, moving into the crowd without fuss, like a word disappearing into a longer sentence. The man with the lens button took a picture of pigeons to keep busy. The storage facility smelled like rubber and climate control. Unit 352 opened on the second try because my hands wouldn't stop remembering that they were connected to a heart. Inside were boxes labeled in R's neat hand. Red. Silver. Blue. I wanted to open all of them at once. I opened silver like a person who has learned not to ignore instructions written in capital letters. Inside. A cassette recorder with a tape already inside, labeled with the date of the fire I was never in and a single word, witness. A photo of me and my mother in front of a house I do not remember, except I am wearing a t-shirt I still own, and it has a stain that is still there. A map of the city with 3 routes highlighted, one to the bus station, one to Union Square, one to this storage facility. A letter, handwritten, R's tidy print softened at the edges like it had sweated in someone's pocket. I couldn't tell a simple story without making it a lie. The truth is long, and I was greedy with your time. You deserve the long version, but not if it costs you safety. We didn't fake the fire for drama. We did it because a man with a badge and no patience said if we didn't, you would be a line in a report. Your mother hated me for how good I was at this. I hated me too. This tape is not proof. It's a place to start. Don't go home the way you came. Don't go anywhere only once. If you need me, use the blue phone. If the blue phone doesn't ring, sit on the left side, drop your bag to the right, and wait for the person who sits without looking at you. I'm sorry I turned your life into routes. I'm sorry I let you believe in the bike accident. I'm not sorry you're alive. R. I pressed play. Static, then the sound of my mother's voice, younger, scared in a way she has never sounded to me. Is it on? She asks. R's voice answers, yes. Say your name for the record. She sighs. None of this is for the record. A man I don't know says a date. Papers rustle. In the background I hear sirens, then a door, then my voice, small, far away, like a sound trapped in a jar. The tape isn't a confession. It's a map made of noises. Words I don't know. Places I recognize but don't. A laugh that is definitely mine. A woman saying, if I sign this, do we get to keep him? A man saying, if you don't, you don't. I stopped the tape because grief was moving through me in a way that felt like electricity, fast, precise, finding every metal thing inside me and lighting it up. I sat on the concrete floor of storage unit 352 and cried like I was 9 and had fallen off something I didn't know I was climbing. Then I stood up, because I'm not 9, and wiped my face with the back of my hand and did the thing R had asked me to do since I was small and stubborn. I listened. In the days that followed, everything changed because everything meant something it hadn't meant before. My mother's stories sat differently in my hands. It wasn't that they were lies. It's that they were built like bridges. Strong enough to carry me across a span of years. Not designed to be studied from underneath. When I confronted her, she didn't deny. She didn't defend. She looked at the scar on my arm and said, I told them not to touch you, and I realized I'd spent my life speaking the wrong language to measure love. R called once more. Blocked number. Middle of the afternoon when I was standing in the refrigerated aisle staring at yogurts with names that sounded like skincare. You did well, he said. You didn't run when running got easy. I wanted to. I know, he said, and I believed him. You can hate me later. For now, leave the flip phone on for one more day. Then ditch it. Your mother has a bag ready. It's in the closet marked winter. Don't forget the blue notebook. Don't write your name in it. Not the one you use, not the other one. Names are doors. Are we safe? I asked. We're more honest, he said. Safe is a story too. What do they want me to be? A mistake, he said. Be a habit instead. Habits are boring to chase. The line clicked. I stared at a glass door covered in condensation and saw myself, tired, older than last week, younger than next year. A person with 2 names and 1 face and a phone I was going to throw into a river. Here's what I know now. Not all families are simple. Not all rescues look like heroics. Sometimes love is a route someone draws on a map in pencil because they might have to erase it. Sometimes the person who saves you is also the person who teaches you to disappear. Sometimes you spend your whole life believing in a bike accident because it is easier to carry than the alternative, and then one night a phone rings and the accident gives up its seat to a fire that never burned. I kept the silver. I left the red. I changed my number and my route and the way I look at street corners. I moved my keys from the terracotta pot because some truths are too easy to fix to ignore. I started listening the way our meant when he taught me to tell direction by the spider's web, the way its threads pull tight on the side the wind favors, the way the world tells on itself if you pay an attention instead of fear. Sometimes I still wake up at 2:17 because muscle memory is louder than logic. Sometimes an unknown number flashes on my phone and I stare at it until it stops trying to be fate. Sometimes I play the tape for 20 seconds just to hear my mother's younger voice say my name like a promise she was making to herself. The phone call didn't give me a happier story. It gave me the right one. It didn't make me safer. It made me awake. And once you are, you can never go back to sleep in the same way again. So if your phone rings in the wrong part of the night and a voice you don't recognize tells you a truth you've never allowed into the room, don't panic. Don't argue. Listen. Check the parts of your life you've left in autopilot and ask who programmed the route. And if a stranger tells you your name is a door, believe them long enough to knock. Because there are two versions of you. The one before the call. And the one who answers.